I want to move over to a game I like to play with my guests. It's called Choose Between Two. I'm going to give you two
Oh,
options. You choose the one. You kind of just go into why you chose one after the other. Are you ready to play?
oh, go on then.
Okay, so the first one is the battle of the film sequels. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 or Hellraiser 2 Leviathan?
Chainsaw 2.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
a such an interesting sequel too, because you're saying you mentioned before the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which is just like, I think now more than ever, because there's been a couple of documentaries. There's another one coming out soon about the legacy of that film. The second movie is in so many ways such a 180 in regards to what that first
Yeah.
film was, even though it's still Tobe Hooper on there and such. But yeah, it's such an interesting kind of film there, isn't it?
It is, and actually, I think if the Legacy doc, I actually was very lucky to work on that, which was very cool with Second Sight Films, and that's what I would call a happy accident, that situation. And actually, when I say it was seeing Chainsaw for the first time here, because again, all of them were banned up until the late 90s, early 2000s, basically around the time of DVD's birth here. And actually, the first one I watched was two, a Pirate
Mm.
Dutch video with my old man. I had no clue what these films were, and it was only because he had me helping him out with his get waxing lyrical about my dad again, helping him through his vinyl collection. I think he'd asked me to, oh, can you pass that pile over to me? And going through it, he had the soundtrack for part two with the whole Breakfast Club, you
Yeah.
know, spin off. And I remember just being mortified, I mean, now I look at it, it's like, it's so satirical and it's so funny. But when I saw that cover for the first time, there was definitely something that affected me. And again, he kind of went, oh, yeah, this film, I think to show you kind of the age I must have been when I saw that, I definitely read it as the Texas Chainsaw Mascara because I'd never heard of the word massacre before. So I was like, what does that mean? And so we watched this really grainy copy of part two. And again, as you said, it's a complete 180 on the first film, but at such a young, impressionable age, it was absolutely terrifying, like the adrenaline of it. And it's just full on that film. But I've got to be honest, I will always be standing in the corner of part two. And I know it's one of those films you either get or you don't. As a fan of the most part of the franchise, I really truly feel it's the only sequel, and omitting the remakes at this point, it was the only sequel that ever kind of got it. It's the only one that actually feels like a sequel, whereas everything beyond that has just been retcons, updates, or following trends. The third film to me feels like a generic slasher. The fourth film is just
Mm.
way way out there.
Mm.
And then these legacy retcon sequels they've done recently, you can just see right through them for what they are, studio cash grabs and whatnot. Whereas two, for all its insanity and how different it is to the first one, it just gets it. And of course you've got casting. There's a lot. Well, I think it's just the cook, isn't it, who actually ports over from the first to the second. But it feels like a continued narrative. It feels like an evolution of that world, albeit in a much more colorful way. So yeah, Chainsaw 2 through and through for me.
Next one, the remakes face off. The remake
Mm.
of RoboCop or Fright Night.
Ooh, Fright Night. Yeah, I'll go
I
with that
actually
one.
quite like that one with
Yeah,
Colin Farrell and Anton
yeah,
Yelchin.
yeah,
Quite a good film because I was very, very skeptical going into watching that
yeah,
film because I absolutely loved the first one. But I thought that Craig Gillespie, I think, was the director of that. He did a really good
yeah.
job and kind of like, not necessarily um capturing the spirit. I mean, the spirit of the two are a little different, but at least trying to understand the kind of like the core tenets of
Of
what it
course.
was about that first movie
Yeah.
and do it in a different way for a different era. It was really well done.
I no, I saw I came to that one a bit late. I don't think I actually saw a remake until we were well into the production of the Fright Night doc. Again, Fright Night is definitely despite still being I think an 18 here of the UK, which I'd never quite understood. It's almost kind of like a gateway film, a bit like
Mm.
Gremlins and whatnot. There's
Yeah, yep.
there's certain innocence to the original Fright Night. It's a fun roller coaster ride, and Tom Holland said it himself to us. It's like a roller coaster. It's like how it is as a child when you're thrown up in the air. It's a really well executed, balanced film. Whereas like the remake has got a bit more of the style, and the coolness playing, even though I prefer the 80s-ness of the original. But I kind of watched it, and it might have been even post doing the interviews, where of course you're going to get original cast and crew saying, "Oh, they tried and they failed miserably," and you're like, "Of course, you're never going to beat the original." And I think I watched it, I was like, actually, that's not. I didn't find that all too bad, and it's interesting because it's kind of just dissipated over time. It's definitely one of those obviously there was a whole slew of remakes. It was
Yeah,
right in the thick of that whole phase we had in the early 2000s, and I think that's one of the ones that's kind of just fallen a bit off the radar now. But for all intents and purposes, yeah, it makes the necessary changes, but still keeps to that original concept. Um, but yeah, it's what either a remake is going to offend you or it's going to be passable. It did anything but offend me, which yeah, the RoboCop one, given like RoboCop's my favorite film, the best way I can say is, I was ready to finally see one in the cinema, so I was ready to embrace it no matter what, and I think I fell asleep about halfway through. I don't know.
mm,
It's been a long day, but something clearly wasn't working, and that only ever seems to happen with certain films where I'm just like, okay, yeah, it can't be a good film. I think it was the only other ones were Jumper and the fourth Indiana Jones films where I
right.
actively fell asleep. So something must be something with a certain pedigree of film where it's just like everything shuts off in my head, not in a good way.
Next one, physical media or streaming? What's your preference? Yeah,
Oh.
I should not know why I asked. I mean, I'm just looking all around. I don't know why I asked, but yeah, but it's still an interesting question to ask because it seems to me that we're kind of under. Well, I don't know if it's going to be as big as what vinyl was to CD, but it seems like we're
Yeah,
almost kind of like almost in this kind of same wave, same wavelength there.
yeah,
Because I think people are kind of like just again a little too frustrated with the greed, I guess, or maybe of streaming because there's so many platforms now. But once upon a time, it was maybe one or two. It just seems like every
yeah,
studio's got a streaming platform, and you
yeah,
got to really kind of pick your poison because otherwise you're going to burn a hole in your wallet really fast. And
yeah.
where having a physical media thing in your hand, it's I think it's something more tangible to that more an investment.
It's the whole ownership thing. I think, like you said, and for me, I find streaming to be, I don't want to generalize it, but it's just a kind of an element of quantity over quality with it all. And kind of going a bit back to, like I said, the whole idea of the hunt and the pursuit for films and whatnot. When you when you make a purchase, I mean, certainly as a film fan, you make a purchase for a reason. You don't just kind of go, oh, I'll grab this or whatever. It's a different mentality. It's a commitment for that single film that you want to watch and enjoy. Whereas streaming, you might just have a quick scan through, or you could be stuck there, and I'm guilty of this, scanning through longer than you're actually watching a film, and you finally land on one, and you're just like, well, yeah, it's that mentality of it's free, so it could be good, it might be rubbish, and that's not to say there's not some great stuff that's come out via streaming on various platforms, but I just I'd say 80-90% of the time I'm not very impressed by what I watch. It's kind of
Mm,
like, yeah, okay, yeah, cool. And yeah, I think there's maybe the quality factor, the streaming quality, which I've definitely noticed that. I think it's like the whole black levels thing. I'm no technical expert, but sometimes that whole pixelated affair to it. And again, it's the idea of ownership. I know I've bought that film, I've committed to it, it's mine, nothing's going to change. And of course, we've had in recent times, and I'm not going to get into the political realm here, but things like Disney streaming sites, oh, actually, no, you can't have that, or we're going to change that.
yeah,
So it's still just at the hands of those that, showcase it, that they can make amends. Where it's like, well, unless someone comes knocking down my door and picks up my copy of The French Connection and goes, nope, you can't do this anymore. It's kind of coming back around to the whole censorship thing. But I hope in a way, I think like, physical media collecting more so these days feels a bit of a bespoke affair, especially 4K. I think, there was the transit, everyone had VHS here, the transition to DVD, my grandparents kind of gradually caught on to DVD, and then Blu-ray became specialist, and 4K is even more specialist now
mm,
because I don't think I know many people, and that includes the guys in Deadmau5 who really, go about, oh, I'm going to pick up this copy of this film. So I feel like the last man standing on this end, who's kind of still, buying God knows what. If any, I'm just trying to be sensible with what I buy now, to be honest. Try and not expand the collection, but I don't mind getting that fifth copy of Taxi Driver on 4K, or I've just imported some stuff from your guys' end actually recently from Umbrella, who
Nice.
suckered me in at sales. So yeah, yeah. I think I get it. I think for the general populace, streaming's here to stay, and of course it is, and so it should be. But for me, no. If I like something enough, I want that up on my shelf.
Last one. You go to the cinema, you sit down, but to watch your film. What's your go-to snack? Popcorn or candy?
Popcorn.
And what did you say before? Very salted popcorn. That's how you like it.
Sweet, but I've kind of like steered a bit to sweet and salted now. I try my best, I'm not getting any younger, and I haven't got that thing they call metabolism, so I've got to be sensible. But I then, God knows what it does to your teeth. But it's the smell of popcorn, isn't it? It's popcorn itself you associate with films. Sweets can be
Yeah,
anywhere. But popcorn 9 times out of 10, that's the iconography of a cinema trip, a giant soda or drink. That will, and this for me now in particular, will probably mean I won't last 5 minutes into the film without having to go to the toilet or the bathroom. But yeah, popcorn through and through, even though it gets stuck in your teeth and it is a bit of a messy affair.
it is. It is, but it's like you said. It's the smell of cinema. It's kind of like the
Exactly.
frankincense of the cinema halls in
It is
in some
exactly,
way.
yeah. Apart from
Uh,
those kids that are doing God knows what with it now on the Minecraft
Yes,
screenings.
people
I've
stop
seen
throwing your popcorn. Number one, it's really good stuff. Eat it. Number two, think about, the people who had to clean up that shit afterwards. I took my
It's not
kids
easy.
to Minecraft the day it came out because they're
Yeah,
love my Minecraft junkies. And we had no idea that this thing was a thing. And thankfully
yeah,
we didn't have too much in the way of popcorn from, but I gotta say, it changes the energy of a cinema when you have a cinema full of 15, 13, 14-year-old kids, boys mostly, just
yeah,
talking along with the screen and what have you. And it's like, wow, this is just kind of odd. Like, I didn't realize, like, this was
yeah.
such a popular thing. I had no idea at the time it was like a social media,
No,
thing whatsoever. I just thought people were really enthusiastic to watch a Minecraft movie, which is
yeah.
probably true. But yeah, crazy, crazy stuff.
There's like levels. Yeah, I haven't wrapped my head. Again, it's something I'm hoping will happen over time with my son, should it still be a thing. I've never quite understood, and I'm an avid gamer. What's the deal with Minecraft? So you just build things, and
Mm,
problem is, yeah, when my nephew tries to explain it to me, I kind of like switch off a bit to a point where it's like, okay, I just don't get it. I'll stick to my Resident Evils and Silent Hills and God knows what. But yeah, kind of nice to see, I guess, or good to see there's the enthusiasm, but there's a level, there's a
yeah.
line, of active participation. And yeah, popcorn's a bitch to get out of the floor when you've trampled that in.
Absolutely. Very true. Thank you for watching the Matt's Movie Reviews channel. Please subscribe for more reviews, podcast interviews, and exclusive content.